Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. He's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit. Today, we're going to talk about the Aaron Rodgers saga that's still going on. But first, Maddie and I just want to give a shout out and just talk a tad bit about Carl Nassib coming out as the first active gay player in the NFL. Good for you, my man. And I truly believe that him doing this will liberate other people and make them feel comfortable and free enough to do it. And that is an amazing thing.
Yeah, even if it doesn't liberate them to come out themselves, like everybody goes on their own journey. Like you come out whenever you're ready. If you don't want to do it in the face of a public, which, let's be honest, there are some people out there where you're going to get some hate for it. And it's something that you shouldn't get hate for, even if he doesn't encourage people to come out. At least them seeing him doing it will make them feel more confident in their own skin, even if they don't want to come out for other reasons. It doesn't have to be about confidence that you don't want to come out. You just don't want to fuel a lot of hatred towards you and like feel worse about your fellow man. I have no doubt that there's more people of the LGBTQ plus community in the NFL that we don't know about, and in all sports as well. Surprisingly, football's really bad for it. Like soccer, European football is really, really bad for it. Like there are barely any gay players, any non-straight players who have come out either. And if you just take the numbers of the population into percentages and stuff like that, there's there's going to be more people out there. So well done to Carl Nassib, and I think a really good face for the movement. And to anybody who's against the LGBTQ plus community, like you're entitled to your own opinion, your own beliefs, but hey, he's entitled to his own lifestyle too. So maybe you don't have to give him loads of shit for it, like we've been seeing on a few pages around our Facebook feeds recently.
And I have to say, what I've seen from around the league so far today and read, and I heard it come out of Pat McAfee's mouth, but a lot of them are the same. They are saying the NFL is not your 90s NFL anymore, that we don't care what you do in the offseason in the locker room. If you can help us win and you're a good dude, we're cool. And AJ Hawk said, you don't even have to be a good dude as long as you can help us win, and we're good with it. So I don't think it's going to be an issue it would have been when I was 20 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, exactly.
It's just a good step forward for the NFL, for sports, for the LGBTQ community. It's just a big step forward for everybody, and just a big shout out because I think this is really important. So in the last 2 days, he's the number one selling jersey in the NFL.
Great. I'm thinking of buying a jersey. I'm not a member of the LGBTQ plus community, but a lot of my friends are and stuff. Like I'm into musicals and stuff like that. Like we've got a big pride flag outside of work at the moment because it's Pride Month in the UK. Is it Pride Month in the States as well?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't follow what month anything is or what day anything is.
I think it might be Pride Month, but I'm not entirely sure. It's definitely Pride Month in the UK. So there's rainbow flags everywhere all over the world.
Maybe not. The only reason I say maybe not, and I could be wrong, is because my wife and I go down to the Pride Festival almost every year.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard it, but maybe it's not happening because of COVID. I don't know. But usually we go down to the Pride Festival because it's great bands and good time.
Yeah, I saw some really cool stuff actually there recently. So some Dallas Cowboys obviously in the heart of Texas, America's team. I saw a guy on one of the Dallas Cowboys fan pages that I follow. He'd done the kit in like rainbow colors. So the badge was like rainbow colors. And obviously he included the hate that we all know exists out there, which shows how brave Carl Nassib is for us. Just because this one guy dyed some stuff like that, saying like, don't disrespect the badge. And I think it's really respecting the badge. I loved it. I would have bought one of those. And in the Euros, Manuel Neuer, who's the German goalkeeper, he's wearing a rainbow captain's armband, and UEFA have agreed not to fine him, even though lots of people are saying he should be fined for promoting political views and stuff like that, but they've said not to fine him. So I think it's a really good stage for the world at the moment, like really starting to come to terms with where we always should have been. Like what does it matter? What does it matter to you guys? And big ups to Carl Nassib for taking that step, because that's huge, man. And being from outside the States, and I know we've talked about this on Real Talk before. Shout out to Jay's political podcast if you want to see any more political takes. We like to not get into it too much on this podcast, but if you want to go check that out, then that's Real Talk. But we've spoke about how the States is kind of a bit of a scary place for us as Europeans to look at sometimes, with some of the stuff that goes on in different areas of the States, not all of it. So I think it's a really good look for the States that he's getting so much acclaim. I think it's a really good look for the NFL. And Carl Nassib, man, even if he's not done it to be a good look for anybody, he's just happy and proud to be who he is. And that's a great thing to see. And one more shout out before we move on to Aaron Rodgers, but he donated $100,000 to charities that help people like finding who they are, and like teens dealing with depression if they're transgender, or if they don't know their sexuality and stuff like that. And I think that's even more important, like telling kids it's okay to be whoever you want to be.
I agree. I think you said it beautifully, Maddie. I think sometimes it's really baby steps that we have to take.
Yeah.
But so I'm older than you, but in the last 10 years, these steps have been moving faster, and I just love seeing it. But again, shout out to Carl Nassib. Way to be strong and come out. And I'm proud that you are comfortable in your skin and that you're owning who you are and helping other people deal with however that's best for them. You know what I mean?
Backing you, man. Backing you, Carl Nassib. Well done, mate. Love that.
Well, let's talk a little bit of craziness now in the NFL. So we've talked about this once before. You and I talked about Aaron Rodgers. And as I do the NFC North page, I was a firm believer that this was a lot of like getting leverage to get guaranteed money to get a longer contract to retire in Green Bay, kind of forcing Jordan Love out the door. But I no longer think that at all.
I think we wouldn't be doing our due diligence if we didn't talk about Aaron Rodgers a bit more. Like, obviously, Florio talks about him every other day by the sound of it. He's big news, this MVP of the league that may be leaving the team that he got drafted.
Us Vikings fans can't help ourselves. Me and Florio are Vikings fans. We can't help ourselves, man.
Yeah. It's hey, I want him out of the NFC just as much as you guys want him out of the NFC North. I just think it's a strange thing. I think it all comes down to whether Jordan Love can play. And by all accounts, Jordan Love can't play. So Aaron Rodgers will be staying in Green Bay, from what has come out recently with Matt LaFleur talking. But I suppose it's not really up to Matt LaFleur, is it?
I think he'll sit out. I didn't at first. So at first, like everybody else, while I was reading and hearing, oh, he's going to have to give them back $31 million. No. Andrew Brandt, former president of the Packers, came on Pat McAfee and broke it all down. That's all bonuses. There's no checks will have to be written and handed back, right? Because the Packers do not set it up like the Lions did with Kelvin Johnson, where he had to actually write them a check and give it back. Theirs all comes in bonuses after you earn it. So they'll just keep it. Well, a guy who's made over $200 million just in his NFL career, not anything else, and he's on every fucking, I don't know if it's State Farm or whatever commercial with Patrick Mahomes. It's like, I don't think he's worried about the $31 million. I don't. I think he's looking at, once I get out, I'll make it up on my next contract. And he's got so much money. I don't think he's worried about this. And then big news comes out yesterday in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers renews his membership to the country club in Green Bay. Come to find out, it's on auto renewal, and it's like $3,000 a year. Like, to Aaron Rodgers, that's nothing. And
he doesn't even know that that's happening. Yeah.
Do you think he'll sit out, though? Do you think a guy like him would take a year? Because I think we're learning that guys are playing longer, and it might be better for his body even.
I think that's definitely a thing that you could take into account. But with quarterbacks, it's when your arm goes off. It kind of, like we saw with Drew Brees, your arm goes off. That's not necessarily always through repetition. That's just, your arm just doesn't function like that anymore. The amount of guys that I play cricket with in a weekend that can only throw underarm now because they've reached the age where they can't throw over arm anymore.
But Rodgers sat his first 3 years too, which probably helps.
Which probably helps us all. I think like Rodgers has probably got. Let's be realistic. Brady's an anomaly, but I think Rodgers has got still like 4 or 5 years. Is he willing to sit out 25% or 25% of his remaining career in order to move away from the Packers? And hey, he's a complicated fella. So, I mean, he could definitely go for it. You could definitely see him doing it. I think it makes sense for the Packers to trade him. I think if it was me and it was getting to this point, and I wouldn't have let it get to this point. I would have said to Aaron Rodgers, like, hey man, what do you want? You want us to get rid of Jordan Love for a couple of picks and we'll use them on some wide receivers in the later rounds? Yeah, whatever. Let's do that. Or I think they were doing their due diligence by taking Jordan Love, but it was the moving up for Jordan Love and all of that kind of stuff. And Aaron Rodgers fucked up their timeline by winning the MVP like last season. And
because according to Rodgers side, Rodgers camp, where things are coming out and it's from that side. It was reported that they promised to trade him after this last season. And because he was MVP, now they won't, which pissed him off. And I don't have a problem with them taking Jordan Love. And I actually thought Jordan Love was probably the best prospect quarterback in that draft. Right? So I thought behind Rodgers, that would have been great. But he got pissed off, and I get it. And I think he was more pissed that they didn't talk to him because I like Kirk Cousins. I don't love Kirk Cousins, but the Vikings even talked to Kirk Cousins about drafting a quarterback. The Bears went to Andy Dalton before drafting Justin Fields. So, and I think that Rodgers really dislikes Brian Gutekunst. And I think that Mark Murphy made shit worse. You took a shot at him with the comment. So, I don't know. I feel like Rodgers is the type of guy whose pride would keep him. And then I think it was Florio might have said this or Sims. But now that he's with the Shiloh Woodley or however you say her name from the Divergent series, and they're getting married, I'm not saying she's Yoko Ono or anything like that, but now she has a say in what happens because that's going to be your wife. You know what I mean? And she's got a ton of money too. So maybe she's like, dude, they're treating you dirty. Do what you want. But yeah, they did. And I'm a firm believer that they treated Rodgers dirty, not by drafting his replacement, but by not drafting him an offensive player in 10 years in the first round.
Yeah. I think there's always been a kind of problem with fitting Aaron Rodgers into Green Bay. Anyway, he's always felt like a bit of a square peg in a round hole, like Cali kid. He wants to be the center of attention. That's kind of like the opposite of what Green Bay is. Green Bay is run like a kind of like a German football team, or like what we want a British football team, what it used to be, where it's run by committee, and it's really deep in the community. No one's bigger than the club. No one's bigger than the team. Like if you want to go, then go, whatever. And now they're kind of at a point where they've got to put their money where their mouth is. And if they don't believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to be that good, so they drafted Jordan Love, then you've got to trade him. Or you've got to go to Aaron Rodgers, give him whatever the fuck he wants. And that might be at this point to be traded. And it's just like you've screwed yourself over. I'm not entirely sure he'll sit out, but I think he'll make it very, very difficult for everybody involved. Because he is that kind of guy, and I really like that.
I don't know if he'll sit out, but I do, and I could be wrong, but I do not believe he will take another snap as a Green Bay Packer. And what you were talking about the roots in Green Bay, it is. And the greatest thing about the Packers and the worst thing about the Packers is the same thing. It's that they have no owner. So not having an owner guarantees that it will never leave my city. That Lambeau Field will be sitting over there behind me and never leave my city. But it also means there's no owner to step in when some shit like this happens and goes, this is what we're doing, get it done. Because Mark Murphy is the de facto owner, but he can still be fired. You can't fire Jerry Jones.
Yeah, of course. And it's and it's easy to, when you get an owner, when you get a guy who can afford an entire American football franchise, they don't care what the fans think. A lot, like Jerry Jones is, like he's a good owner. Like he gives a shit about what the fans think, but
to an extent,
he's not going to let them affect his decision too much.
Correct.
So he can come in and he's not like he's going to get criticized if they let Aaron Rodgers go and he wins a Super Bowl in Denver, let's say, if that's where he ends up going. Like if he wins a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. But Mark Murphy could lose his job, which then clouds his decision of what he's going to do. Like it makes it really difficult for him to then make the decision that he thinks right. Because if Aaron Rodgers goes and wins a Super Bowl, then Gutekunst is screwed. Mark Murphy's probably going to lose his job, you know? Like it's very difficult for them in that situation. And so I love the Green Bay Packers for doing that. But yeah, like you said, it's their biggest weakness in a league where everybody's doing the same thing. That's their biggest weakness. But also it's a great strength because it means like they also have to take all that into account. They have to think what the fans say, like what they actually care. It means they've got to keep a fan base happy. And is that not the point of a franchise? Like obviously it's to win, it's to make money, but if you're keeping the fans happy, then you're good as well.
Correct. And I mean, if you can't tell, I'm out here full transparency, not hiding shit on, you know what I mean? But like I said, I don't think he plays another down because I believe he is that stubborn of a guy. But I also pray he doesn't play another down because then the North runs through Minnesota. But
yeah,
you know,
I think it's kind of all of this is stemming from the new NFL quarterback, where there's so many good quarterbacks now that they're able to kind of, and it's run so much by quarterback, they're able to kind of go basketball with it and be able to say, look, we deserve this preferential treatment. If you're going to use us like a manager, so they're a manager on the field. If you're going to use us like a manager, then you have to let us in on management decisions as well. And if you're not going to let them in, then you're going to have to trade them to a team that they want. And it's not like there isn't going to be a bidding war for Aaron Rodgers. Let's be real. Like, I don't care if he's 37. Like, there's plenty of teams out there that are ready to win right now as soon as you put Aaron Rodgers in there. And how much is a Super Bowl worth to somebody? 3, 4 first-round picks? Imagine what the Packers could do with 3 or 4 first-round picks. They could whiff on as many quarterbacks. They're likely to hit a quarterback, you know, at that point.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think that they're just they let themselves, the Packers organization, get into a bad situation because I really believe Mark Murphy and Brian Gutekunst were like, we can do whatever we want. We run the team. And we all know the different things that were said to Rodgers before, like shut up and don't be the problem. They didn't talk to him about LaFleur. I think he just feels disrespected. I think he feels completely disrespected. And I don't know. I think Packer fans better get used to only winning like 6 games next year.
Yeah, and do you know what? That's not necessarily bad for a franchise. Like losing 6 games and then getting yourself up the draft order and then kind of making those picks that you'll get for Aaron Rodgers more valuable. I mean, I want to see him go largely because I don't want to have to play him in the NFC playoff tree. I also I just like the drama, you know, of a league and the storylines that get thrown up. Like, obviously, I guess we can kind of call ourselves media people now. Like, we make enough videos and stuff. I guess we're media people, kind of. The media want to see those storylines. It makes making videos for people like us a lot easier if this kind of stuff happens. So take that with a pinch of salt. If the BBC were doing this, they couldn't have us both on. They would have to have somebody who believed that Aaron Rodgers was staying for the issues of bias. But I can't see him staying. I don't particularly want him to stay either because I think he has been disrespected and, you know, maybe it's a new dawn for the Packers. But what it all boils down to, and I think it's best to kind of leave it on this, and I want to hear your opinion on it, is what it all boils down to is, can Jordan Love play? And if Jordan Love can't play, what the hell are the Packers going to do next?
That's a tough question. And I don't know if Jordan Love can play. I just know that when he came out, I liked him as a developmental quarterback. I wouldn't even have mind the Vikings taking him to sit behind Kirk Cousins. And I thought Aaron Rodgers was one of the best places to put him behind, right?
Yeah.
We're going to find out real quick if he can play, though, because the Packers, need some help at receiver because Rodgers makes some of those guys look better than they are. But besides that, that's a pretty solid team. They got a good running back, a good offensive line, a defense that's just going to get better. So I think that he's not in a bad spot if he has to start. Also, I think when you were talking about the quarterback carousel and the fact that there's more and better players, I know that Tom Brady gets the credit, but it really started with Brett Favre of guys playing into their 40s. Favre, Drew Brees, Tom Brady. Wasn't Manning 39 or 40. You know what I mean? It was just getting – so I think we're seeing them play later too because they're not getting hit the way they were. They're taking care of their bodies better. They know how to eat better. But one of two things are going to happen. Gutekunst is going to look like a genius or an idiot.
Yeah, my problem with it is there hasn't been any good news coming out of the Packers camp about Jordan Love, whereas all the other quarterbacks in the NFL are throwing absolute lasers, no interceptions, whereas Jordan Love's getting no love, I guess.
And you should be throwing lasers and completions 7-on-7 with no pads on. You know what I mean?
You need to go watch them, Jay, and then give us the scout report of Jordan.
I went to go down there one day when they were in camp or mini camp, and they never used to put stuff around the fence because it's first come, first serve. You can go in and watch for free. But they used to leave the fence where we could stand out there. But now they have green tarp around it, and they were already full by the time I got down there.
Need to get up early. We'll then get a self-promotion of Jordan Love, man.
Yeah. Well, I think that we both agree Rodgers probably played his last out in Green Bay. We don't know if exactly what will happen. Yeah. But or am I putting words in your mouth?
I could see all eventualities happening, but that's just me classically sitting on the fence. But
all right, fair enough.
I would be surprised if he does come back, if he didn't make everything really complicated, and if he makes stuff really complicated, then they're best getting rid of him. So then if he wants to go and they're best getting rid of him, then he'll probably leave. So I can see him leaving more than I can see him staying. Or sitting out more than I can see him staying. It's very weird
for the Packers come July when training camp hits if he doesn't show up.
Yeah, that's where it's at. If he's still rocking his dad bod in Hawaii in July, then...
Hey, deadlines make deals. In sports, nobody deals get done until there's a deadline in front of them.
Yeah.
So maybe training camp's that deadline. And if I was the Packers, I would be flying to wherever he is every day, knocking on his door, going, I'm sorry, I love you. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you, but I can't see them doing that because that's not who people are. That's not who people are in real life. And let's be real, Aaron Rodgers is a bit of a complicated fella, a bit of a prickly guy, whatever you want to call him. Like, he is a difficult dude, but he's like earned the right to be a diva. He's the Mariah Carey of the NFL.
There you go. Well, we will leave it on the Mariah Carey of the NFL because that's the quote of the freaking day right there. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Follow us on all the great stuff I always list off. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.